Black women experience menopause completely different than white people. Even our symptoms are a
Mm.
little bit more complex. I don't know why that is, but it is. It's like Black women most definitely will have the hot flashes or the night sweats. They get depressed,
Mm.
physical limitations becomes some scattered a little bit.
Mm.
They experience the symptoms longer. They are the decade callers when it comes
Mm.
to menopause. It's more on our Black women in the Black community compared to white women who may suffer 6 to 6.5 years with it.
Welcome to the Wisdom and Bloom podcast, where Denise, the non-robot dancing, my non-robot dancing co-host, and I talk to women over 40 about life's twists, their
Yes, and
turns,
turns.
their
Yes.
triumphs. And
Mm-hmm.
today's episode, I'm
Today.
very excited about because we are talking about menopause.
Men, menopause,
Menopause.
menopause,
And not
and
just menopause, but
mm-hmm,
how dismissive our doctors were when we were starting to experience
mm-hmm,
menopause
mm-hmm,
and what they told us. So you will
mm-hmm,
hear our stories and we want to hear your story. So of course,
mm-hmm.
share in the comments what your stories are with your
Yep,
doctors for menopause because I'm certain they are probably very similar to what our stories were.
yep, yep,
So that is
absolutely.
what we want to talk about today. It is a topic that for whatever reason, I don't know why we don't talk about it enough. We
That's
don't talk
right.
about it more. I mean, if menopause is a natural process, that means every woman is going to go through menopause, right? Every woman
Yep.
who lives to be 30, 40 years old is going to start going through menopause.
Everybody, 100%. If
So
you
a
live long
hundred
enough, you
percent of women,
100%.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yet it is something that is not even discussed.
Not even addressed. Not even addressed.
Not addressed.
And I spoke with, and I know I had told you this before, but I spoke with my doctor about it because I'm like having I feel like sometimes I'm going crazy because no one knows how I feel inside. And I was talking to her about it, and she was confirming with me that the medical education given across the board for doctors in medical school for menopause is so minute that
Mm-hmm.
you literally it's some of them it's like 8 hours of education that are given toward menopause. So if you don't take an interest to go out and research and gather the necessary information on your own to make educated guesses to help women who are going through it, you won't get it. You won't get a complete education in
No.
medical school.
No, you won't.
Mm-hmm.
You won't. You won't.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get started here, let's talk about these definitions. Let's talk about some definitions,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's talk about, okay. And first of all, I want to say if you have not started reading this wonderful book, The New Menopause,
The
okay? We are
new
not being paid for
menopause.
this. Not yet, maybe one day. But we are not being paid for this. The
I
New
did talk to her team
Menopause.
though, so hopefully
Oh, there
one
you
day she'll
go.
be on our podcast.
Yes, we would love to speak with her. Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Claire Haver has written this fantastic book because she actually has a clinic. I want to say it's in Texas,
Mm-hmm. Galveston,
dedicated
Galveston,
Galveston,
Texas.
Texas. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to women and menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has listed in here all kinds of information, but I'm going to use her definitions first, right?
Yep. Go ahead.
So, perimenopause. The
Yep.
definition of perimenopause is an extended transitional stage that happens before menopause. So,
Yep.
peri before.
Not to be confused with premature menopause. Perimenopause is literally the transition. It's almost like if you thought about if you was playing baseball and you hit the ball, you had to go to first, second, third base before you get home. It's the transition of just getting to menopause.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And it is initiated by fluctuations in hormone
Mm-hmm.
levels, primarily estrogen and progesterone, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then you have menopause. Now, menopause essentially is just a date, right?
Yep.
Menopause is you reach menopause when it's been 12 months since your last period.
12 months,
So
12 consecutive months.
12 consecutive months, right? Where you've had nothing going on, no periods going on. Once you have gotten to that 12th month, now you have reached menopause.
Yeah.
Right? And then everything thereafter is considered post-menopause.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So after that date is when you have started post-menopause. Now, it also says that the highest prevalence of vasomotor symptoms, such as hot flashes, sweating, heart palpitations, is in this post-menopausal stage.
Yes.
So those are the different stages. And like you said, not to be confused with premature menopause, because premature menopause, some people, like you said, confuse that with perimenopause. Premature menopause is when a woman has reached the menopause, right? Like we said, that's a date, before the age of 40. So you have, let's say you're 37 and you've gone a year without a period, you're menopause, you've gone through menopause, and now you've reached this menopause date. And that is considered premature, right?
Yeah, but only 1%, only about 1% of the population goes through it. And that number is also construed just a little bit, because that's 1% of the people who actually go and try to figure out what the hell is happening to them. Because some people, they go through it and they don't know what it is, and they think they may be depressed, or they think they're stressed out. The doctors are misdiagnosing them or dismissing them. So that 1% is the 1% of the women who have actually been diagnosed with it, and they actually finally found someone who says, oh, I know what's happening with you. Because there is no one test. There is no one test that you can give all women, no matter what color, that'll tell you, oh, you're in premature menopause. This is deduced from several different types of symptoms, and all of us go through different symptoms. There is no one horse trick pony.
I mean, perimenopause.
Yes. For either. But back to premenopause, premature menopause can actually happen. Like in my case, it was surgically forced, because I had a hysterectomy before the age of 35. And so, being that I had a hysterectomy, my body automatically said, oh, wait, no cycle, no estrogen, no this, no that. We're in menopause. And it ramped up on me, because my surgery happened, and then my body said, oh crap, we got to catch up. She's supposed to be in menopause. So I was getting all the things at once, and to the point where I had a nervous breakdown. Couldn't work for almost 2.5 months. Completely thought I was losing my mind. I was crazy. I thought I was dying. I was dreaming of dying. I mean, the whole 9 yards. It was just, my whole body just went haywire. No one prepared me for that. Not one doctor said, hey, you're going to get a hysterectomy. You're going to lose all them things inside of you that keeps you in perimenopause check, so to speak.
You're like pre-peri.
all
things. Of them in the early menopause.
Yeah.
Perimenopause. It kickstarts your perimenopause. Yeah. But why wouldn't they mention this? I mean, I don't understand how you go in and you take out women's reproductive parts. You have to know as a doctor that's going to have some kind of impact on their body. I mean, yes, maybe they didn't study very much, but they studied enough to be like, oh, let's just take out some of your female organs and you'll be better.
Right.
But they don't then say, they don't then learn, oh, but once that happens, these are other things that you can expect. You get that with drugs, side effects, right? Side effects. Oh, if you take this medicine, these are some potential side effects. They should be respecting us women more to say, if you have this surgery where you are going to be removing some of your, female organs, these are the potential side effects.
That could happen, whether it's a full hysterectomy or a partial hysterectomy. And in my case, my body went completely bonkers. It ramped up so fast that I could not work. Like, I couldn't function. I couldn't even, there were weeks.
Were you having trouble
that I couldn't get out of bed?
Brain fog.
I couldn't think. I couldn't think. Instead of gaining weight, I lost so much weight because I couldn't eat. it was just crazy. My body just went completely crazy. My husband thought I was out of my mind, seriously. And so I went to the doctor like several times. I went back to the doctor. I'm like, something isn't right. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to put a finger on it, but something is not right with me. I was told you need to lose more weight and you're just stressed out, because you've had this hysterectomy, you can't have children anymore. So now you're just depressed and you're stressed out, and they put me on Adderall, which did a whole nother thing to me that was crazy. But I was like having it all, the heart palpitations to the point where I literally thought my heart was going to jump out of my chest. I thought I was dying. I went to the doctor, they put me on Adderall and told me I need to lose more weight. And they dismissed me completely.
I feel that is a typical story. My story, the dismissiveness is very similar. The difference though is I actually am part of that 1% that went through premature menopause. So you can imagine as like a 32-year-old woman, and now you have, irregular periods. I was having, heart palpitations. I did not have night sweats, and I did not have hot flashes. And that's the other part. When people talk about menopause, they always talk about hot sweat. I mean, night sweats and hot flashes.
And hot
That's
flashes.
it. That's it. Those are the only two things that anybody ever says is menopause, right? So if you don't have hot flashes or night sweats, it's not even considered that you could have menopause. And especially at my age, right? At 32 years old, I was told the same thing. Oh, you need to lose weight, And this is the thing. Picture this, that this is a doctor. She delivered my youngest son. She's a woman. Okay. So she's a woman. This isn't a male OBGYN. This is a female. I trust this woman. I go in, I sit down. I say, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I was very scared. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that was me.
I'm tired all the time. I don't understand what's happening. I wake up and my heart is like beating out of my chest. I go months with no period. Then I'll have one and it like is a rush, Listen, I am Denise. I have my tubes tied. Okay. I have my tubes tied. But because of all these irregular periods, I'm thinking something slipped through. I'm taking pregnancy tests.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes, I'm taking pregnancy. I'm like, something ain't right. Maybe I'm really pregnant. Because, you hear about these statistics like, oh, I'm taking pregnant, all kinds of stuff. And I'm scared, right? Because nobody understands what's going on. And I am told.
And that's what causes a lot of the depression. What they don't tell you is that I don't come to you depressed, but I become depressed because nobody can tell me what I'm going through. Nobody knows what's going on. So I didn't come to you this way, but I'm heading that way because I don't know. I need answers. I know something is not right.
Yes. And it's infuriating. You know what I mean? Like, it's upsetting. Then, like you said, then it's sad. And then you don't know if the depression is because of the, menopause or whatever you're going through, right? Or is it because no one is, helping me figure out what's going on, right? I think it can be, like you said, a combination of both things. Yeah. Then I also was tired. And then she said, oh, well, it might be your anemia. I'm like, well, either I'm not having a period or I am. So how is it the anemia? You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, well, just take some iron pills and you'll gain your energy back, right? It was just like you said, so dismissive.
Yeah.
So dismissive.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Kamesha. What would have helped you in the beginning to have just felt seen and supported while you was in that menopause journey?
If the woman had taken me seriously. I really feel like if she had listened to me, asked some questions like, oh, okay, looked at my chart. Oh my gosh, you're 30. What? Like, you're doing, what's happening? And really ask some serious questions, not just look at me and be like, oh, you just need to lose weight. Polyps, I don't even know I don't even know what a polyp is. Okay, first of all. But if you had listened, you had taken some time, you had asked me some questions, and really this is what happened because my OBGYN wasn't listening to me.
Yeah.
I wound up going to my primary care because of like the heart condition. Then
Mm-hmm.
she's thinking it's something with my thyroids because she's checking all these different hormone levels. So now I'm hypo, and I'm hyper, and I'm this, and like, I'm all over the place. And then at one particular appointment, she's like, "Well, when are you going to go see your OB? Your gynecologist again?" And I told her, I said, "Oh, I've seen her." And
Mm-hmm.
like, "Well, what did she say?" I said, "She told me to lose weight." She's like, "What?" She like, and my primary care physician then was like, "Okay, this is ridiculous." She's like, "I'm
Yeah.
running more tests than this lady." She's like, "I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to find you and refer you to an endocrinologist." I didn't even really know what an endocrinologist was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she thought like she's doing, her part, and maybe
Right. And
the
she needs help to get the
gynecologist,
other
right?
part done.
She ain't do
Mm-hmm.
she I was like, she didn't do anything. She's like, "Oh my goodness." And so she sent me to an endocrinologist, which is a hormone doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when things started to, take more shape, because she listened to me. This was a female doctor.
Yeah.
And she asked me questions. She wanted to understand my symptoms, how long I had been going through things, what tests had I been done, what tests had been done. She looked at, she was in the same system as the other doctor, so she can look at
Mm-hmm.
my test. She's like, "I don't know, this doesn't seem right." So I really felt then that I was being taken serious.
Seen and you was
I
taking
was
yeah.
really being heard. I was
Mm-hmm.
really, it wasn't just, "Oh, just go lose some weight, like everything will be fine."
Yeah.
And the scariest part though, because this had been going on for years, and I think,
Mm.
I don't know if you mentioned this, but you can go through menopause, what, 7, 8 years,
Mm-hmm. A
perimenopause, seven to
decade. You
eight
can go
years,
through it a
yeah,
decade.
10
Mm-hmm.
years you
Mm-hmm.
can go through
Mm-hmm.
this. So this has been
Mm-hmm.
going on with me for many years at this point. This was probably like 3 or 4 years that this had been going on. And I remember when the endocrinologist, when she finally called me after she had given me all these tests and stuff, and I
Mm-hmm.
was at work,
I
and
would
she
have cried.
called, yes, and she's like, um, "Do you have time to talk?" I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah, yeah, yes, of course, yes,
Yeah.
of course. Can you talk somewhere privately?" It's like, oh my God, and I'm thinking, what is this woman going to tell me that she has found
Yeah.
out? Yes, absolutely. I remember going in like the stairwell or something like this at work,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing she said was, "Do you want to have any more children?" I said, "No." At that point, I already had,
Right.
2 kids. I had my tooth tied. Like, I wasn't interested in having any more children. And then she said, "Okay, well, your estrogen levels are that of someone who has experienced menopause." I was like,
Mm.
I'm like 35, 36 years old. I
Mm.
was like, what? But I also breathed, like you said, a sigh of relief, because can you
Has somebody
imagine
seen you? Somebody seen
going,
you.
yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
years,
Mm-hmm.
talking to different doctors, like, something is not right. What is going on? This is not how my body normally responds.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
even when, and at least when she said that, I was like, "Oh, well, menopause, that's a natural thing." But I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm kind of young." And that's when she started to explain, yes, this doesn't
Mm-hmm.
normally happen
Mm-hmm.
this early
Mm-hmm.
for women your age, but based on your levels. Like, she was basically telling me, and that's how I guess I went through menopause at 39. Like, whatever the levels, what I don't remember, there was none. Like, it was done. And she's like, "We need to start talking about hormone replacement," because I had no idea even what estrogen was responsible for in the body. Because that's the
So
other thing. You're only told like estrogen is really here for like reproduction,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But estrogen has a big role in your
Mm-hmm.
body. So
Yeah.
you can't just drop off, like, as you learned, right? You can't
Yep.
just go from
You just can't have it one day
estrogen,
and then the
right?
next day you don't have it. Period.
Right. Your
Mm-mm.
body is not going to really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
to your point and your question, that was the first doctor after many years. Well, second, because the other one she helped, but she wasn't the GYN. She was, just helping from
Mm-hmm.
her family care side. Um, that really took the time to like pay attention and take me seriously
Mm-hmm.
and run the tests to see, even though maybe she might have even thought she's probably too young for this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we need more doctors to
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
with women.
And statistics says that 28%,
Mm,
28% of Black women with menopause are diagnosed with menopause. 28% compared
28. Mm.
compared to 63% of our non-Black
So twice, so
companions.
half as many.
Yes.
So what do they think
Only
we talking about?
28%.
We just
28%.
we just complaining. Like we just complaining.
It's dismissive. It's very dismissive. One reason why is this dismissive, not just to the medical field, but in your community and in your environment as well. And this is crazy too, is because we are held as strong Black women. So you're just going through, you're just tired, you're exhausted. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. You always bounce back. You're strong. You're strong. You'll always bounce back. Don't worry. Because we're labeled as that strong Black woman, no one takes us serious or comes to our aid. And so we become dismissive.
Yeah.
Not just in the medical field, but in our communities as well.
Well, and also too because of the disparity, right, for good healthcare for Black people, right? So for Black and brown people. So if you compound it by the fact that you have these doctors that don't really know anything about menopause and don't care to know, right? And then you have not the best doctors, right, that are in our communities, you definitely are going to be at
our
a
medical deserts.
Yes, for finding like real solutions to what you have going on.
Absolutely. 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 So when we look at what we have been dismissive of or diagnosed of, a lot of times we as women have male internal medicine doctors. Our primary care doctors are male. And they definitely will dismiss us, especially a Black woman, because they already don't understand it. But then you have female doctors who you think, oh, surely they'll understand it. Most of them don't understand it because they haven't been through it. Like Dr. Mary Claire Haver said, she was none the wiser until she went through premature menopause. That's what made her dig into menopause, and she has become this expert at menopause, studying for over 25 years. But it had to happen to her first. It happened to her. She got dismissed. No one's seen her. She thought she was going crazy, but she's a doctor. So she's trying to self-diagnose herself because no one else will see what's going on with her. And it causes her to dive into women with menopause.
Yeah. And like you said, she wasn't taught. So she didn't know to recognize these as symptoms of anything.
Yeah. So it almost has to happen to you. So we go to these female doctors. It has not happened to them yet. They have not experienced it. So they're dismissive about what we are feeling or what we're experiencing until they go through it.
Exactly. Because they don't understand. And the other part too is you have got to be your own advocate. You have got to be your own advocate. Like I've told this to my sons, obviously not about menopause, but about their own healthcare, because we give so much reverence to these doctors because they supposedly have studied, they supposed to know whatever they tell us to do, we supposed to do. But many times they're not listening, right? They're trying to give you some kind of prescribed answer. And everybody is different. Everybody is different. So if you know your body, and as women, I feel like we probably know our bodies even better than men because you have a cycle every month, right? Every month you get to know your body from the time, 13 years old or 10 these days. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you know your body. If you know your body and you know something is wrong and you have gone to a doctor or two doctors, find another doctor. Find another doctor. Do not be afraid to say, this doctor does not know what is going on. They are not trying to help me. And be your own advocate, ladies. Do not be afraid to do that and keep looking until you find somebody who hears you. Like I said, my doctor, my trusted doctor delivered my son. I went to her for 2 years talking about this and she was not listening. Even after I lost the weight that she told me to lose. And then she's like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe we should try a test for, this and a test for that. And I think she is even the same doctor that had them stick a wand up my vajayjay.
For what?
Yes. it was some kind of wand that she had. Can you believe a wand? Not a good wand, okay? Not a good wand. A long, white, cold, hard wand. Up, Mama JJ. So they can look around in there at the ovaries. It was the most uncomfortable thing. I'm telling you, no woman wants no 12-foot wand up there for JJ. I don't care how much they say they like a long one. Not that. It was so damn uncomfortable. And it showed nothing, because my ovaries, I guess, was still in use or whatever. But that test doesn't show. That does not show your estrogen levels. It doesn't show your estrogen levels. It might show how much of a wand I can take, but it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me with the issues that I had going on with perimenopause. Do you see?
I cannot. You know what's really funny about it?
Are you picturing this?
You are so damn desperate. You just let them stick a wand up your head.
What? She said, not my ass, okay? It was my DJ, okay? And that's where I draw the line. There's nothing that you need to be sticking a wand up there for to check on my symptoms of fatigue and heart palpitation. Because I might know what's causing that if that's what's going on. But that was not what was going on, okay? But yes, I think she's the one that said just stick the wand up my vagina and like fish around up there and see if your ovaries are still operational or whatever.
Was there a light? Was there a light at the end of the wand? So
there was. I think there was. I think there was. I guess it was kind of like a sonogram because I almost remember them like lubricating it.
Oh my God. I cannot.
Before they stick it up there and like start fishing around.
I have known you for 20 years. I haven't heard this story before.
And then everything seemed to be fine. So my point is, I guess I was desperate, right? Whatever the doctor said needed to be done, we got to try to figure it out. But then you do all of this, and I'm, very uncomfortably taking this wand. Okay.
What was you thinking about laying on the table there, Kamesha? What was you thinking about laying?
I was thinking, this hurts. Get it out. Get it out. No long dug dong or whatever for me. Get this out. That's what I was thinking.
Man, that was the best story ever.
For who? For who?
I can't. My head hurts now.
Heard of it? It was kind of, I don't know, internal sonogram or something. I guess they call it.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. My.
This is the stuff they put us through.
What the hell did she think? What the hell did she think she was gonna find out?
It was something about my ovaries.
She's gonna look up in there, she's gonna say, yep, there it is. I'm so sorry, we're so upset. I cannot get past it. And I don't think it's called a wand, and I think that's what's throwing me off. You got one of them Harry Potter sticks in your vagina.
Oh no, it was thicker than a wand. It was thicker than Harry Potter stick. I'm telling you, it was thick. And it was
I can't see.
It was thick.
We're so desperate. We're so desperate. We're so desperate to figure out what's going on. We're so desperate to figure out what's going on. Like we put ourselves
Yes, this is
through
what they suggested.
extreme measures by dumbass doctors who don't want to admit. Now, being serious, just admit that you don't know. Just admit you don't know. Don't come pulling out
Yes.
pots and pans to stick up, just, just just say
Yes.
I have no clue. I have no clue what it is. I'm not
Right.
going to keep putting you through this. Apparently there's something going on with you that's outside of the scope of what I
Yes.
can share with you. So let me consult my board and see what's the next step. I mean, how
Exactly.
easy is that to just say, I don't know. I don't know, instead of throwing you on a table and throwing, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. But that was a great story, though. That was the funniest story I've heard all week. What was her diagnosis? Did she say a diagnosis after she was done?
Yeah, my ovaries were in working order. Like I said, I think it was about
But
the
did you ever
ovaries.
tell her? Did you ever say to her, I feel like something's wrong with my ovaries?
No, but I guess that's what they check. Maybe they would check in and make sure nothing was funky going on, like with my uterus, my
Mm-hmm.
ovaries, or what have you.
Because
But
definitely it's got to be the ovaries or the uterus because your mind is wrong, and your heart is palpitating. So it's got to be your vajayjay. It's got to be something wrong down there because you're having heart palpitations, you're
yes,
having night sweats, and you can't sleep. So it's got to be your organs. Come on now.
yes, I know, right? Instead of even thinking it was that, yeah, she's checking. I guess what she knows to check is that at that point I had come
Do you
back a
still
couple of
go to
times.
her, Kamesha?
No, I left that lady after the last time.
After the one?
Post wand, okay.
Man, I don't want to go through that story no more.
I left her because after that, like nothing was going on. Then she's like, come back in like 6 months or whatever. I
I
came
would
back.
not. I would
Yes, I
not.
did. I went back. Like I said, she was my trusted OBGYN. I go
Mm.
back in 6 months. And I remember sitting there thinking, okay, I'm just gonna wait until she starts asking me like about my symptoms this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She didn't ask. She gave me a pap smear or whatever.
Wait,
And
hold on. Back up.
Mhm.
Why did you need a pap smear after she done stuck a whole broom mop handle up
No,
there
this
with
was
a
later.
flashlight?
This was after you come back. Like I had come, so I had got did the flashlight or whatever. She
Mm-hmm.
found everything was in working order. Then she's like, "All right, go. Just come back in like 6 months or what have you." And I guess it must have been time for like my pap
Oh,
smear.
your annual
Yeah,
pap.
my
Okay.
annual, my annual. So then I come
Mm-hmm.
back. It was time for my annual, and that's when I get my little pap smear. And I'm waiting for her to start asking me, like, are you still experiencing these symptoms?
Mm-hmm.
You have been in here a couple times last year, blah, blah, blah. She never asked me anything about it. And that was the last time. I was like, I'm done. I found another. And I was already starting to work with this other family care person who had put me in touch with the endocrinologist,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to go with this route. Like, this lady is obviously not the person I need to
Mm-hmm.
support me here.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
that was it. That was that.
Black women experience menopause completely different than white people. Even our symptoms are a
Mm.
little bit more complex. I don't know why that is, but it is. It's like Black women most definitely will have the hot flashes or the night sweats. They get depressed.
Mm.
Physical limitations becomes some scattered a little bit.
Mm.
They experience the symptoms longer. They are the decade callers when it comes
Mm.
to menopause. Is more on our Black women in the Black community compared to white women who may suffer 6 to 6.5 years with it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that our number is so much longer because we go through stuff just like you explained. As funny as that was, that's the reality. Black women are not taken serious. So instead of you really listening to us and seeing us, you would rather, stick a flashlight to see what you can see up there. But I'm not telling you that anything is going on down there. Like, you're really missing the point. So We go longer because it takes us longer to get diagnosed, to get seen, to get heard. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I can totally see that. And it's something that needs to be studied, right? I feel like now, and I don't
it,
even
it
know why. I mean, this is 2024, but I do feel like now there has been more interest in women and like what's going on with women, and then also understanding that there's differences in women, right? It's not just our melanin that makes us different. There's a lot of things that Black women and brown women experience at different levels and at different rates, right? Than other women when it comes to our body. And if you think about it, our melanin can have a lot to do with that. You can't just be dismissive and be like, oh, they're just brown. Well, what does what is it about us that makes these things different in our bodies? But again, like you said, because we're just Black women, nobody really cares. Like, so it's not anything that's taken seriously or paid attention to. They may ask a question here or there if they have a survey that may have some diverse women in it to notice, oh, well, we have
absolutely.
noticed that this is different for these women, but it wasn't intentional. It wasn't as though they set out to understand if there was anything different. It's just something that they noticed.
Let me ask you a question before we start wrapping up. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that once you got diagnosed, they talked to you about HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Did you ever accept HRT?
I did. So, okay, so after the doctor talked to me about my estrogen levels, and then she talked about a little bit about what estrogen did as far as for like your bone density. And I had to take a bone density test just to make sure, my bones weren't starting to become brittle or what have you. And then there was a couple of other things that she told me that I can't remember now that estrogen really plays a part in, like something about your brain health. It was a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And it was also at a time too when I think, taking like estrogen and hormone replacement was kind of starting to be frowned upon because it was like, is that really helping? But I felt like because it was so early for me, right? And it was a low dose. So it was a low dose of estrogen. It wasn't like a high dose of estrogen.
Right.
That it wasn't going to be harmful as if I didn't do anything for like those 10 or 15 years when I would have still had regular estrogen or somewhat normal, I guess, estrogen levels to still help, my body and my health. And so I didn't have any issues with taking the estrogen.
Did
I
you
didn't really
feel
have any
better?
side effects.
Did you feel better?
I did. I think it helped with my fatigue for sure. Like, cause I was really tired. Like I was really, really tired. It took some time before it started helping with my heart palpitations, but it did eventually start helping with my heart palpitations. But I think it helped more with just like my fatigue and my energy levels in the beginning. So yeah, I took it. I took it until I was like 50. So maybe about 49 or 50 for like 10 years until I started getting to the age of like real perimenopause. They wanted me to take it to support me until I would get to like stage. So, yep. So I did. I took it.
Good for you. Yay.
Yes. So it has a happy-ish ending. But
and a funny middle part too. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty.
And probably some other ones I don't remember. Funny middle parts that are not coming to me right now.
One time I was having heart palpitations, and we are gonna wrap this up, but one time I was having heart palpitations so bad. And my husband had went to work, the kids had went to school, and I was at home by myself. I'll never forget it. We lived in a townhouse, and at the time we had a bird. This bird was huge. It was a scarlet macaw. It was huge, like the wingspan on this bird. If he got out of his cage and flew around the house, pictures would fall off the wall because his wingspan was so gosh darn big and heavy and long, right? And sometimes he would get out of his cage and he would just perch on top and he would sing. He loved 50 Cent. 50 Cent was his favorite girl. And he would sing 50 Cent songs. I don't know why, but he loved 50 Cent. And this one particular day he had came out of the cage and and it was a she, I'm sorry. She had came out of her cage and she had flew downstairs. I was downstairs. She was upstairs. She had flew downstairs, knocking pictures off the wall, and she perched right on top of, we had a tall dresser in the living room. And I was sitting in a chair watching TV, and I started having heart palpitations so bad that I thought I was having a heart attack. And I laid my head back in the chair and I just started calling on Jesus, like out loud, just calling on, like, what is going on with me? What is wrong with me? I just started calling on Jesus. And that bird is usually like moving around, singing her 56 songs and all kind of stuff. The bird like stood in its place and just watched me, just watched over me as if to say, if something happened to her, I'm gonna have to go get somebody. But it was just the weirdest thing. Like she stopped moving, she stopped singing, she stopped everything. She just like stood there on her perch, and she was staring at me. And it wasn't that stare like something is about to happen. It was that stare like, I got you. Because I just felt like I was just going crazy. My heart was just beating out of my chest. I was there by myself. And that I'll never forget that. It was like our eyes locked and it was like, you got this. I'm here. You got this.
Right,
You
right. You're
know,
gonna be okay.
you're going to be okay. Yeah. And I say that to say that we are alone. We are alone in this fight. And it is so um concerning to say that so many women are alone and they're not seen. And we need to find a community, a group of women that possibly are going through the same things that we are going through or have went through with premature menopause, perimenopause. I feel like my oldest daughter is going through premature menopause right now. She tells me her symptoms that she's going through, and I'm like, I really believe that you're going through. And like today, she laughed at me. She's like, Mom, don't tell me that, because she's equating that with being old. And it's not. Sometimes your body just don't cooperate. It just doesn't, you know. And we need to find that community. And I hope Wisdom in Bloom is offering enough information and resources that we can build a community of women that not just talk about menopause, but also talk about the things that are going on with us, especially as Black and brown women, that we are not being seen or taken serious about.
Yeah.
You know, that we can have a voice, even if it's in this community, no matter how small it is, that maybe one day the right person in the right time and is in this community to share so many of our stories out there so we can get the resources and the support that we need.
And also, you are not crazy. You are not
Yes.
imagining your symptoms, right? You,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, deserve to be heard, and in
Absolutely.
spaces where you are taking seriously for this, not being dismissed, right? And again, if you have doctors who are not listening, then advocate for yourself and
Yeah.
find somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Find somebody else. But as you said, also talk to other women. You know, lots of times I think women, we're good at talking to each other, but sometimes we don't have the conversations we should be having.
Yeah.
And these are some of the conversations we absolutely should be having and sharing with other women, and not just talking about, you know, okay, I have the night sweats and the hot flashes, but the other things that also come to, you know, help women who may not have those kind of obvious symptoms going on, to know what's
Absolutely.
happening with them in their body too. But you're right, like, you know, I think Wisdom and Bloom is a great place to create that kind of community. We can have these kinds of conversations. So, also, as we wrap up this episode of our Wisdom and Bloom podcast with all of our wonderful stories today, we would love to hear your menopause story. Okay, I don't know if you have a wand story or some other story.
I hope not.
But maybe you have had a doctor who actually was supportive. That sounds like that would be a unicorn story. So if you have a story where your doctor was actually supportive, your doctor actually was listening, was able to diagnose and tell you what was happening, like, we would love for you to just, you know, drop that in our comments, or
and hashtag it my menopause story.
Oh, I love
Hashtag
that.
my menopause story.
Yes, hashtag that. My
Mhm.
menopause story. I love
Yep.
that. I love that. I
Mhm.
love that. This has been wonderful. And let's just keep the conversation going.
Yes,
And
yes.
until the next time,
Until the next time,
keep
keep
blooming.
blooming, ladies.